Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Stories, candid conversations with my cousin. My name is Britz, and my wonderful co-host all the way from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, USA, Lauren Britz. Hello, Lauren. Happy New Year. We haven't seen each other. It's like in the January.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Happy New Year, and thank you for having me. I'm coming to you all the way from a beautiful sunny South Florida. Even though it's winter, we're having the best winter ever. And it's great to see you, Kev. So happy New Year and lots of blessings for 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. And to you. It's been I know that you traveled all the way to South Africa, and you talk about traveling. You really made it count, right?
I made it count.
You were in Pretoria, you were in Zimbabwe, Botswana.
Botswana. So yeah, we were in Cape Town, we were in Durban, we were in Joburg, we were in Pretoria, we were in Botswana, back to Pretoria, back to Joburg, back home to Florida. So we definitely made it count. Yeah, we definitely were very, very lucky with our divine timing that we had, because as you know, things are changing now. So it's exactly what I was thinking would happen, and that is what's happening. So I'm very glad we took the opportunity to get to South Africa before all the borders closed down. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, and that leads us to some hot topics that I thought we'd just chat about in terms of COVID lockdown, and then we're going to move into some of our what the future looks like for 2021. But in South Africa right now, we've gone down to, I don't even know if it's level 3 or 4. I think it's level 4, but with additional criteria attached to that. One of those criteria being you're not allowed to drink. So there's no alcohol available, and if you didn't buy enough in December, it's like a really good sobering month for everybody. So
yeah, that's unless you're like making your pineapple beer or your other kinds of beer going on. South Africans become very innovative when these types of things happen. I think it's very interesting to watch. It's pretty brutal not to have any alcohol available during a pandemic and this is not the first time either, and I know that these things go into effect so quickly, you can't even prepare for them. So yeah, unless you had a bottle store of some kind, like, shacked up in the garage, you probably didn't prepare well for the sudden lockdown of alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other concerns is because of the lockdown, because we've also had such increasing COVID cases, so many people have sadly have passed away. And a lot of people I know, a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of family, so I mean, that in itself is a whole different stress and a different sadness to sort of have that sort of entry point into 2021. But also, the anxiety that it brings, I think, around schools, because we haven't even been able to open schools yet.
Oh, wow.
So, there's a whole panic stations going, okay, when are the schools opening? It's almost February, like, when's this happening? So there's a lot of stress happening in 2021. And I think it's really, from a South African perspective, I think people are pretty fed up with this whole COVID situation. And to add matters to this is our government, although we had a lot of financial relief from international banks and investors, we were not in time to buy any vaccines. So we have no vaccines available in South Africa.
Woo!
Yeah, so every time the president gets online, we kind of have that like, okay, what now? Kind of face.
It's very interesting.
It's like you had all this money, and in the lockdown periods, we were hearing about these billions and hundreds of billions that we have available, and what we're doing to the country to support. And it comes to vaccine time, and it's like, oh, we didn't have enough money at the time, or we didn't get to buy enough when it was available. So we literally, they've been sourcing vaccines, possible vaccines available from other countries now. And that's, so essentially from what we know, our first sort of inroads to vaccines will be in February, March, hopefully, but that would be frontline workers only, right?
So they're starting that a little bit late. I mean, everybody else is already on the ball. I know that people are getting vaccinated here. Even citizens are getting vaccinated, depending on your age. Depends on whether you can get it. But yes, that sounds, actually to me personally, that sounds highly suspicious that the government did not actually make this happen when it was supposed to happen. This is very interesting. And based on, the things we know about our current government and their previous performances, it's not difficult to kind of put that into the same pot and wonder what else is going on there, because it just sounds very, very interesting and a little suspicious to me personally, I must be honest. So
one of the arguments is there are countries in the world that are considered or that have considered being less likely to be able to even get hold of the vaccine who have the vaccine. And here, old South Africa is like, oh, we're still waiting. And I'm sorry about the birds in the background.
That's okay. Hi, birds.
I know Ingrid's going to listen. She's like, please kill the birds at the background.
Kill the birds in your backyard. Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, so, that's really what's happening in South Africa. Those are like some of the major concerns. And the last thing, we've got a cyclone happening currently, which is
heard
really weird.
It is weird, Kevin, but I have to be honest with you. When I was in Botswana, a tropical cyclone came over Zimbabwe.
Oh wow!
Well, and it spread its reach over to, I think was it Zimbabwe or Mozambique? It was one of those two. It was somewhere around the same area where it is now again. And it came through into Botswana and caused quite a chaotic night of weather for us. And I was still there thinking, whoa, what's going on here? I come from Florida. That's where all the hurricanes and cyclones in Asia, like not like mid-southern Africa. It was very weird. So, I did hear about that yesterday, and I was like, wow, this is the second one in a shoot, like 2 months, 2-3 months that it's happened. So very, very interesting that the weather patterns are changing like that as well.
To that degree, I'm kind of going, it's just very strange. And to add to that, we're also having cyclone weather, and 2 days ago we had 36 degrees. Like it's that, sort of.
That's pretty hot, Sam.
It's crazy. Like, so one day you're melting and you're in the pool like for the day, and the next day I'm wearing a jersey today. So it's very weird, yeah.
Very weird.
Since our last conversation, you've had. The US has been really, really busy.
We have lots to talk about, yes. I mean, the hot topics in the US, I mean, they've been hot topics like red hot buttons that you can't really push for the last few months. So we've had just so much going on. I mean, everything from, as I was flying home from South Africa, they were, showing all the news about the rushing of the Capitol and in the airports, which I just kept thinking is so weird. Like, people should not play the news in airports. But anyway, it was just disturbing while you're traveling during a pandemic.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you were going home to. It was kind of crazy. But all in all, we got home and again, America was still in a little bit of disarray the way I'd left it. It looks like disarray, but I guess everything's falling into place in a way. Donald Trump obviously had a very interesting exit, which I don't think is even finished or over yet. It's still, pending court systems and Senate rulings and all that other stuff. Obviously, Biden took over. There weren't too many people at the inauguration these days. They seem to really sparse it out, probably for, all the obvious reasons, pandemics and, being concerned about the rule of law and violence and all these types of things. But it was actually a relatively smooth handover. and lots of people were happy. And I saw a few FU Biden flags come up. So, that replaced the Trump flags. They now have FU Biden flags, which to me is, it's something, because it really reminds you that I live in a country where I can say whatever I want, freedom of speech. Of course, that is tapered off by, I can't just say what I want about other people, but I'm allowed to say how I feel. And if I want flags like that on the back of my car, there's nothing anybody can do about it. So I just thought it was very interesting, because it's not kind of something you would see anywhere else in the world, I don't think. And so in a way, it's like, whoa, okay, that's a bit hectic. And then in another way, it's like, well, you just say how you feel, okay? At least we're not hiding our feelings here. So the Trump flags have been replaced by FU Biden flags. There's a lot of happy people. Everybody's enjoying the Kamala presence, the female presence. Her inauguration was big smiles for all the girls in America that are watching. And so,
sorry, but one of the things that I want to raise as just an interesting observation is, because of the turmoil, I think that's a good word to describe what's been happening in the last couple of months. What I've also seen on the news, on some news reports, is how in-your-face racism has happened in America. Where the one report of a Chinese reporter, she's born in America, she's from America, she grew up in America, but she's Chinese, and someone in an airport walked up to her and said to her, "Hey, ni hao," or something like that, like hello in Chinese, and then they said ching chong, like a derogatory word like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they just said it to her face, and they walked off. And then somebody else came up to the same woman, coincidentally, and said looked at her, took his mask off and said, "Do you actually speak English?" Like that.
So this is this is such an interesting topic, and I'll tell you why it's so interesting for me personally is because I've only lived here for 15 years. So people forget this. You live in a place for a long time, and every day is nuanced. So the one day just falls off the other. But when you've lived in a country for only 15 years and you weren't brought up in that country, so you don't come with all the cultural, settings and all these defaults, I come from my South African culture and I'm now living here. So I remember, and this is absolutely fascinating, when I first moved here and I was teaching, a lot of people would walk through my classrooms, take tours around the school and stuff. And so many people would walk up to me and whisper, "Did I run away from Black people in Africa?" Yeah. And anybody that knows me knows that they're talking to the wrong person when they ask something like that. Because I would say things like, "No, I'm sorry, I'm not a racist. I didn't run away from Black people. I didn't run away from anybody. I just happened to find myself here. And that's how I ended up here." But they just assume you couldn't handle it and you ran. And I'm like, no. This is absolutely not how it is. From there, I started noticing that that's when it occurred to me, oh my gosh, people don't talk about race like we do. We would sit in an office and wax lyrical about the Indian guy and this guy and the Black guy and the white guy and the white girl. And we have come a far way talking about it our whole lives. It just wasn't an open topic of conversation. And when Donald Trump became president, he opened up that can of worms like nobody's business. And it was necessary because all of that was just being suppressed. And I started noticing it, like everybody comes up and whispers it in my ear, but nobody will have a conversation with me about it. When I used the word Black in my classroom, it was silence. You could hear pins drop. The kids were like, "Oh, you can't say that, miss." And I'm like, "I'll say Black if I want to say Black. Like, what you say about that, what you say about being Mexican, what you say about being white and Chinese, those are the things that make all the difference. I don't think racism personally is not noticing everybody's differences. That's going to be impossible. We're all different. I appreciate other people's cultures. I enjoy them. I don't want them to disappear. I don't want to neutralize culture. I just want respect and understanding. And can you believe that people still today in America and probably in many parts of the world can't believe that a Chinese person is American, or that, you know, this person of a different color or skin or look is actually American. America is made up of immigrants. That's the point. Most of them were just white immigrants before, and now they're of different colors. So it's the same thing. I mean, I'm a white African woman that's now also American. That's a weird, interesting platform to be on, you know? So I get you, Kev. Like, that is a hot topic, that racism now is, you go to Walmart, you don't know if you're going to run into it. And I'll tell you this for free. I've had my own experience. I've been told to go back to the country I came from by an American who was not even born in America. So somebody who was born outside the country, moved here when he was very young. And I was in a car dealership of all places, believe it or not. And I was not really 100% happy with the service I was getting, because I'm a woman, by the way. So when you buy a car in America, make sure, and you're a woman, make sure you bring about 10 people with you and let them be men, because apparently that's the only way you can buy a car that doesn't take 12 hours. So he said to me, you know what, if you don't like it, why don't you just go back to the country you came from?
Sure.
And I proceeded to literally laugh out loud, because I could not believe somebody, I'd never even heard stuff like this in South Africa before. And after I thought it was funny, then I told him what I actually thought about it. And it's on video somewhere.
And I think that's why
go back to the dealership.
It's such a crucial conversation to bring light to, you know, because I think there's so many hot topics around, and you know, fact is, the world really looks at the USA as leaders in, to a large degree, in how they do what they do, and they're supposed to be recognized for the democracy in the country, and yet, you know, we've got proof now, and we have such evidence to show, with a bit of inciting of a different mindset, and a bit of racism, and a bit of this and a bit of that, you get people attacking the capital of a country like the US. It's like unheard of, you know. One of the things that's also a hot topic that I've, you know, paid attention to is President Biden now has overturned Trump's transgender military ban. And when I saw that, I was like, wow. You know, it's not a topic that I've paid a lot of attention to, but I knew that old Donald had a way of making new laws about, especially homosexuality and transgender people. And the fact that Biden has actually done and made this changed this law, you know, in my head, you know, for me, it's kind of a bit of relief.
I mean,
because
it depends what's important to you. You know, I think people should, you know, when he became president now recently, Joe Biden signed a slew of executive orders, and a lot. But okay, so this is what all presidents do when they become.
Yeah.
Generally, they'll take whatever the previous administration did, and then they'll change what to fit their campaign. Yeah. The problem with this, Kev, and there's no issue with what actually happened. Like, I agree, like human rights, like these things should happen. For me personally, the issue is underlying. Every time we change presidencies, we do this. So people wonder, why are we so behind? It's because, in my opinion, and it's a very long, complicated conversation that I don't even have all the details of, but it is, and it has this process and the way that the American government is. So we talk about this democracy and how they were heralded for it. I think America is more heralded for their economy and their ability to do that. Yeah. Their democracy might have been held up in high regard in previous years. I don't think that's the case now necessarily. For me personally, I love America, don't get me wrong, and I think it is a very powerful country and always will be. But I feel like they're working with an old technology. And that is what it blows my personal mind, because I get it. You're doing this, you're doing that, but we're all doing it on the same platform. So now you're in the platform Republican and you do this. Now a Democrat takes over. Now we just do a 180. So we don't go forward, we go around in circles. And that has made us really fall behind, which is why people are like, how dare you talk about Kamala becoming vice president? Well, how dare I? I like Kamala Harris. I like her. I actually can't wait to see her become the next president. I understand what's going on here. They're prepping her for that. I get it. My issue is, no matter who's in charge, we are all working off old technology. And if you even whisper the idea of changing the Constitution or anything like that, it is blasphemous. So, you know what? If you want to work on an old BlackBerry and go 180 every time, no wonder we're so far behind. No wonder we haven't had a female president. No wonder solar power is not heading up our energy. No wonder our poor universe is going to doo-doo sticks. Like, we are behind. Yeah. We are the country that can do something about it, but we can't do something about it if you keep going around in a circle. Like, we need processes that will move us all forward somehow. I don't have the answer because I'm not a political science major, but I do see that happening back and forth. And I see it in my business. I see it in my life. I see it in my state. I see it in my taxes, back and forth to the same thing, back to the old thing. I like it's, where do we divert?
I think, policies are changeable and can be changeable, but I think there are certain key fundamentals that we, as human beings, that we should be entitled to. I should, if I'm a transgender person, I should have that right. It's my right to be who I want to be. There's certain things that shouldn't be negotiable, especially when it becomes, and that's why I think it's that disjointed. And I think it's rightfully said that it's not known for the democracy, but more for the economy strength. And I think that's also what Donald was playing into, was getting rid of Chinese influence into work environments and creating jobs. But I think
jobs home. 90% of the world outsources to China. You're giving away a lot of power like that, and you're taking away a lot from your own economy when you do that. But at the same time, everybody has their human rights. But now you're talking about transgenders when, not too very long ago, women couldn't vote, Black women couldn't vote, Black people, like that was the other day, so to speak. Now, I just feel like if we had different policies, and changing policies in America versus South Africa have different difficulty levels. They're both difficult, but they're difficult for different reasons. This is such a big country with so many loopholes. There's a loophole for everything. Yeah. And, how we are supposed to be heading the whole world up, I think, because we have the ability to do that. We have the economy to do it, and we have the people to do it, and we can affect the rest of the world. It's just that when you're going back and forth, and yes, human rights should be there, but the human rights are not things that are just implemented when you're born. I mean, think of all the women that burnt their bras. Think of all the Black people that protested, all the white people that protested for apartheid. Think of, all the struggles of humans. Like, women to this day don't get paid the same as men. I mean, you know, even in Hollywood. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, especially in the army. I mean, it was a very army specific thing that, I mean, being transgender is totally illegal. There's nothing, I meet transgender people all the time. Sometimes I know it, sometimes I don't. I have no opinion on other people's lives. If you want to do what you want to do with your life, that's fine. But
you know, it also leads me, you know, we're not going to get to all the conversation we should today. But, you know, like, and I think we've mentioned it before, but we haven't really spoken about it. So maybe, you know, we'll take the next
great topic.
Is the Black Lives Matter. You know, I think a lot of why, you know, it's such an important campaign is really based on the violence that's taken part. And, you know, South Africa, you know, we've gone through this, and we realize that to a large degree, that wasn't a consideration for so many years of the history of this country. But yet, in 2020, the USA is still, this is a theme for the entire country. And you're kind of going,
Yes.
what the hell is happening? Like, why is this even still a big consideration? Why are we still so far behind?
The USA, and I think people forget this, and I don't even think a lot of Americans really necessarily get this, because they have been a superpower of the world. America is a young country.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're like way older than everybody else. No, that's England and Africa and other places. Like Asia. I mean, Asia's an old country. Well, you know, continent, old place. Africa is an old place. America's a baby. America's like that baby on steroids. You know, it's and in order for a country to come, there's a process. I mean, it doesn't, even though the people are doing what they got to do and stuff, there's energetic process for a country. You don't, you know, you're not born at 0 and then you wake up the next day and you're 10 years old with all this experience. It's something that has to evolve over time, regardless of who's running your country. So people's mindsets, now you're running 350 million mindsets. You know, you've got 50 countries in this massive country, 50 little countries in a big country. It's a very, the violence has just begun in a way. And I'm not saying it must continue. I'm just saying that it's only just become a consideration. Whereas for us, it's been a consideration since we were born. We were apartheid babies. We were born into violence. We were born into these things. We were born into racism. These people were not. They're watching it happen as they go. Obviously, a lot of people were born into racism here and you know, segregation. There was a natural segregation here that no one spoke about up until 2020.
Yeah.
Or at least up until Donald became president and opened the can of worms.
Yeah. And you know, what I find really interesting is when the Black Lives Matter and that whole campaign is like hashtag Black Lives Matter came across, people would start posting, white lives matter too. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're completely missing the point. You know, so it's been such a strange, and the reason why it's been interesting to get to 2021 kind of talking about this is we're still there. We're still, you know, a year later, we're still there in this mess. And we're kind of going, okay, are we learning anything? Are we actually learning anything about why it is so important to recognize that Black lives matter? It's not about saying Black lives are more important than white lives. It's saying that the way that Black lives are treated historically have really, really, in comparison to white people, have really, really outweighed the scale here, you know? And
absolutely. I mean, if you were born white, you were born privileged. And there's no debate about that. I understand why people want to debate that. Because for me, Black lives have always mattered. I don't need a movement. I have always loved Black people. Like I personally don't need you to tell me that. Like, I already know that. I've been telling other people that my whole life for the last 40 years. The interesting part is, for me, okay, and there's probably an answer to this. Why do we need a movement? Because other people don't get it, I guess. I get it. But movements and things like this can often be used in disguise. They can be used as Trojan horses. And I really feel back in the day, the Greeks did it, the Vikings did it. Why do people think that governments are not doing this? Everyone's like, have people researched the people running the Black Lives Movement? It is eye-opening. Go and research these people, and maybe we should just do our own research and actually talk about them online, because they are not all as kosher as everybody thinks. And to me, yes, I don't mind a movement for you, even though I personally don't need one, because I already felt that way. But I'm afraid that these movements are used as Trojan horses to, do very counterintuitive things without you even knowing. And I know that's everybody, it's like CIA stuff, everyone's like, oh, well, that's very like out there. It's not that out there. If I wanted to infiltrate a government, that's how I would do it. Using a Trojan horse in disguise. You wouldn't even notice until it was too late. So
but my entry point into this conversation is just what I don't, and maybe it's just me personally, that I don't understand how I'm offended by people having a movement. Like, it doesn't offend me.
Yeah, it doesn't offend me either.
It's like gay people having a gay parade. People coming up with the slogans like, let's have a straight day as well. Let's celebrate straight people. It's like, that is not the point, dude. Like, we're not against straight people or for gay. Like, that is not the point here. The point
I think it's like representation. You want representation. White people, white men have always been represented. Then white women, and then black men, black women. And then it's, now gay people, transgender. There's people with no genders. Everybody wants to be represented, because what makes a human real is when I acknowledge you. When I say, I see you in your state that you are right now, and I acknowledge you and I accept you. That's all people really want. You don't even have to accept it. You don't have to be it. If you don't want to be gay, don't be gay. If you don't want to be transgender, don't be transgender. In fact, if you don't want to hang out with people like that, don't even hang out with them then. But you can't pretend they don't exist. You can't. People are there. All they want to do is be acknowledged and represented.
I think what's the beauty flip side of this entire conversation is what it is doing is it's building an awareness around people want to just be allowed to be and do what they want to do in the world. If I want to be that person, I want to be that person, and I should be granted the same amount of respect and honor and ability and choice and freedom that every other single person is allowed. And I think that is what's lending that underlying message is how social media is lending itself to voice. And the first thing that comes to mind is RuPaul's Drag Race. Like,
I love RuPaul. Who does not love RuPaul? Come on, I mean, RuPaul's amazing.
What is this drag situation and then today you kind of go, actually, no, there are so many people who love dragging it up, and if they do, they're entitled to it. They want to. And if you look at the performances that they now have on RuPaul's Drag Race, you kind of go, holy crap, these people are so talented. It is scary. They're becoming superstars. They're becoming, and you kind of go, well, that's the point. That's the point of Black Lives Matter. That's the point of why transgender people should be allowed in the army. That's the point of why these conversations are supposed to happen and be allowed. Not because you're against anything or anyone,
I do. I mean, I agree 100%. And I think the thing with me is I've always agreed to that notion. So the rest is always for me like, you know, why are we still on it? And I get it. Like other people don't get it. That's fine. And, you know, if you come down and visit us here in Key West, Kev, we'll take you to some absolutely awesome drag shows. I mean, there's Lips down the road. There's, you know, Key West is, there are no boundaries in Key West. Everybody should just go visit Key West and see how everybody can live together in harmony, you know, because nobody cares about anything. You do you, whatever. If you walk around naked, I'm sure they won't even mind. But, you know, I did want to go back to your comment about social media, and that just reminded me of another topic was censorship. This is something that for me personally in social media, while it's giving certain people a voice, it's taking away and choosing other people's non-voice. It's stopping the voice of the people that they don't. And that's the same thing as stopping a transgender or somebody else from saying they say. When they censored Donald Trump, I thought it was absolutely horrendous. I don't care who Donald Trump is or who he is not. They haven't even silenced Nazis, okay? They haven't silenced hate groups. They haven't silenced extremist churches. They haven't silenced freaking terrorists. So how dare you censor anybody, actually? I thought that was such a massive infringement of a human being's right. Now we talk about rights. The right to speak, you know? Facebook, what they did was unbelievable, actually, and Instagram and Twitter, and here we are hooked on these things. We can never get away from them. If you get away from it, you're disconnected from the world. We are hooked. This is our new drug. And I just thought, you know, censorship is a big no-no. It doesn't matter who you are. Censorship is a no-no. It stops the conversation from happening. We need all the conversation we can get, even if it's not fun conversation. And everybody has the right to say how they feel, including him too. So while I'm open to everything that's happening, I'm going to give Biden the best chance possible. I'm going to pray for him and hope that he makes amazing choices behind the scenes in what we cannot see. But censorship is a big no-no in this journalist's book. Like, you do not censor people. Once that starts happening, you start becoming afraid of a dictatorship. So
what is quite frightening as well is the monopoly of Facebook. And how, you know, because they've I mean, it's a conversation we've recently had around privacy. They own WhatsApp, they own Instagram, they wanting people's details, and you're kind of going, and now, you know, it's just in the news today that the iOS update is blocking your apps, certain apps. If you don't want apps to have access to your information, you can block it on your actual iOS device. And you're kind of going, and now Apple and Facebook are having a bit of a problem with that, with each other, because their apps use people's information, which I also think is not okay, you know. So again, it's part of that censorship. You're kind of going, no, I should be allowed to agree if I want you to use my information. It should be my choice, you know. It's a complicated machine, and it sort of permeates into every walk of life at the moment. It's quite.
I don't know how long we're going to be able to hold this one off, Kev. We are now officially going into what I call the space age, but it really incorporates 5, 6, 7, 8G. Okay, so, you know, right now we've had 2, 3, 4G, LTE, you know, 5G, what comes next with that? There is no, it runs off the ability to read people's information. This is how it works. I've sat and wondered long and hard, how will we hold this off? Because it will encroach on every privacy you have. It already does. We just don't quite know it yet. We are being watched through our cameras. Everyone's like, let me switch all my you know, computers' cameras off. No, dude, you got a cell phone in your face the whole day. They are watching you. This is not a theory. There's a million documentaries you can go watch, you know, that we've spoken about before. Again, Facebook has created digital platforms of every single human that uses it. They know your likes, your nuances, your dislikes. They've figured all this psychology out. Now all they're going to do is put the network in place to utilize all that information on such a mass base. I don't know that people are going to be able to. You're going to have to go and, find a piece of land somewhere in the middle of nowhere, dig a hole in a trench to get away from it. Because also, people are not tech savvy enough. Most people, even those who are tech savvy, to they hide these things in the settings, and it's difficult to navigate, and it's not simple, and it's not going to get simpler. So there is this thought in my mind about embracing it a little bit more. I don't know if you've seen the movie Minority Report. Puts things negatively in perspective, but because they're coming for his eyes and whatnot. But everything is eye scanned. When's the last time you did an international trip? When I went to South Africa now, eye scans, eye scans, eye scans, eye scans.
Wow.
And I saw it and I was like, oh, here we go. It's called Clear. So you can get your eyes scanned real quick, and the benefit is you get to go through the line much quicker. But now they've got your retinal scan. Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
So here's the question, and I know it's a part of even our discussion plan today, but Elon Musk is going to Mars. Are you going to go to Mars?
I'm not going to Mars, no, because if you go to Mars, you don't come back.
Well, and that's what I was thinking, because it's just in the news, and I was going, I wonder, how many, say, in 10 years' time, this has become you book your flight to Mars, kind of thing, and you kind of go, okay, would I actually go to Mars? And I really don't think I will. I really like the planet. I like the Earth. I'm happy to just be here.
I love Mother Earth. I love her. But I have also loved the extension of the rest of her, which is the universe and space. That has always intrigued me. We are, star beings. So it's currently the way our technology works. If you go to Mars now, and on the SpaceX and NASA website, they have a list of people going to Mars and what they'll be doing there. You will not be coming back. That's one of the agreements. You're going, you're staying. You're part of the first Martian population. So I'm actually a little bit, I don't know if Elon's actually going to be going to Mars physically first. He's probably going to stay here and navigate for a while.
Yeah.
Until the technology is good enough to go there and come back. Because currently it's going there and that's all they got. It's far, far away. I think it takes, and I stand corrected, 3.5 human years to get there or something. So, you're only going to get there in a very, very long time. So I will remain on Earth, nicely grounded for now. But I do have, if I could take just a trip, a passenger trip into space and maybe orbit and come back, I'd be down for that for sure. Maybe going to the moon. But Mars, I don't know. Mars is a bit far for now.
And what it's just occurred to me is how strange is this even having this conversation as a contemplation? 10 years ago, it's we would never go to Mars, or another planet. And here we are having conversations about potentially what's happening in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and think about this: the business on Mars. Who owns Mars? Nobody. I guess the person that gets there first, which has always been the rule of ground, right? Whoever gets there first and puts their flag in, that's the one who owns it. But business, how will business work? How will business change? How is the world going to change in the next 5 years alone, knowing that we're on the cusp of this space age? The 5Gs, the satellite, everything else going on in space as well. It's going to change our business. 5G is going to change business. Unbelievably.
This week, Elon's SpaceX has launched something like 140 satellites into space. This week, it happened this week. So this satellite internet connectivity that's going to happen is already happening. It's happening currently, this week. So yeah, it's insane. So to close off today's conversation, and we're going to be speaking about it more throughout our conversations in the year. But what is happening in your world? From my perspective, like I mentioned earlier, so much is happening. There's so much opportunity that and again, I think COVID, as much as it has been what it has been, COVID has forced me as a business owner to really move into a space of finding connection and really connecting nationally, internationally, and really collaborating like you and I are doing right now.
Right.
And you kind of go, okay, cool. That's the foundation of where we started. Like, what is the next step? So, I'm really chuffed and happy about what's happening and what's coming up and what potentially could happen. I'm also part of I'm looking at joining another company that's going to possibly head up their coaching division around career development and a lot of coaching and reaching the numbers, and that's really exciting for me. And yeah, I mean, the show, the Lunchtime series, really expanding on that and seeing, how far we can reach and how many more people we could actually engage. So from my side, quite excited and engaged and ready to make some big impacts this year.
Yeah, Kev, I think it's all about connection right now and action. So, the three things, the challenges I have is to remain adaptable and innovative and open-minded, to see. Sometimes I've noticed the last year connections come in sideways sometimes, and you don't always pay attention to them because they're not coming from where you normally get them from. But just remain open-minded my 2020 feels like I'm rolling into 2021. It's great that it's a new year, although there does seem like there's just this continuous energy that's permeating. Yeah. And at the same time, when we have this difficult pandemic, I'm putting all my eggs into just focusing and taking action and paying attention. I've been seeing a lot of it, and it's not always easy to take action, but it's so important to just wrap your mind around doing it and actually just do it, because that's where all the juice is. I mean, you could have 1,000 opportunities. If you take no action on it whatsoever, you get nothing. That's it. So I think taking action this year on just so many things, even if they don't work out. Taking action could be having the conversation with this person that you've never had a conversation with before. Or, we're chatting and next thing you're connecting with a new business and next thing they want to chat to me. Who knows? We're only separated by 6 degrees, all of us. Yeah. So I think connection is very, very, very important. And then, of course, take the action to make those connections. Action in everything, action in moving forward, in cleaning up your business, in looking for new resources, growing. If you find you're in a time, everyone wants to hold onto their money, but I'm hiring, I'm hiring a VA, I'm hiring other photographers, I'm hiring lawyers and CPAs, and because I know that I'm still growing and I'm not going to hold myself back just because I'm in a pandemic. I'm still alive, I'm still going. Who knows what happens tomorrow? So for me, I think it's the connection and the action and just taking it day by day and going forward and making it happen, just making it happen.
Also, just to add to that, I think people are open to negotiating. Businesses have been in a tremendous tough time, specifically in South Africa. So many people have lost their jobs. And at this point, when people are offering services, I'm kind of going, I've also got to work to my budget. I've got to make sure that, we're covering all the things that I need to cover. I want to know that, are you open to negotiate to help me drive my business to the next place? How do we do that effectively? And how do we leverage off each other? So I think be open to negotiating services with people because the world is really struggling. The world is having a tough time,
and I know it sounds crazy maybe for some people, but I do this all the time. I barter. So
Yeah.
I'm a professional photographer. I do branding photography. I also have the skill set to do a lot of other different things. Recently, before I came to South Africa, I got all my personal things together as far as a will and all these things that make you feel like a real grown-up. And my lawyer, Todd, who is amazing, he insisted that I do it all before I go, because that's what lawyers do. Who knows what could have happened on that trip during a pandemic. So he insisted I get everything ready. And, as good a lawyer as he doesn't come cheap. So, I was there just thinking, oh, I'm going to go fork this money out. I have to do this for myself. Until we started talking about something he needed. So he asked me to barter with him. I mean, I'm like this big shot lawyer. He's like, Lauren, would you mind bartering with me? There's something I need from you. He needs a branding shoot.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. What a great way. It's totally legal. It's a totally great way not to exchange any money, as long as it works for you. I wouldn't say barter with everybody. It's got to work for you. It's got to be something you really need and what they need. Don't let it be frivolous, because otherwise it won't feel equal. I barter dollar to dollar. So there's no, questions about it. And I just think that it's lovely that your lawyer is bartering with you. My makeup artist is bartering with me. The hairdresser is bartering with me. So I'm getting all this stuff in exchange for something I can give. And I'm helping them grow without hitting their bottom line, while I get something I really want and need. So this is also a really good way to sort of get through certain things that we need without forking out tons of money. If you find something that's mutual between you, go ahead and discuss it. Be open to discussing bartering. If it doesn't work for you, say no.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it will be a disaster. But be open to it, because I don't say yes to everybody, because I don't need everything. But when people ask, I'm open, to at least looking at it.
Yeah, so I think, for 2021, that is, I'm really open to collaboration, really looking at how do we leverage each other's services, how do we add value to each other's lives. And I think that's a really good entry point to 2021 for any business owner, for any micro enterprise, to kind of go, I want to do this, but this is what I do. So who do I speak to, and how do I make that connection to help me drive forward to where I'm going?
Yeah, and I've often thought about the platform for it. I know, like, I get all these thoughts, and I can't invent all of them. But a platform where literally people can say, listen, I'm bartering this, so I need a collab on that. Is there somebody else who needs what I have to give? And I'm putting that out there in the world for anybody who'd like to grab that and create it. Because, it's just it's something we don't have. So yeah.
Loz, in sort of closing our conversation today, sentiments for the kick off to 2021, what are they? What do you want to share with people?
What I want to say is, yes, hectic things we're dealing with, hectic, but you're still here, you're still alive, you still have your skill sets. We go back to a little bit of resilience in the mind, and to really just hyper focus your mind to what you want to achieve, and to really put it in a positive spot. You can look at all the things that are happening, but don't let it overwhelm you. Don't drop the ball on being safe, but go straight into that laser beam focus of, we are okay. We are going to get through this. And not only that, we are going to make this work. We're going to leverage this to the best of our abilities. Just don't let, if you feel like it's getting you down, you need to go talk to somebody, a friend, a therapist, a coach, a business coach. Reach out, because it's a very difficult time to keep a very strong mental strength. And it is imperative for the success of all business. And we're in this together. So, reach out, call, ask, speak. Don't be silent.
Yeah, and just to add to what you're saying, I think on the resilience point, it's an absolute definite that, people really figure that out, or put something in place to help them get through that. And the two other points that I think for me is tenacity and focus. Like you mentioned, you focus on, like keep going and make sure that you control what you have ability to control.
Yes.
I can't control COVID. What I can control is what I'm doing, how
True.
I'm safe, how I'm keeping myself distanced. And so I think resilience, focus, tenacity, and really understand where you're at and how to do that most effectively.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Lance, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kev. It was so great to chat with you and see you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.